nutraceuticals, and we're here to share a dose of knowledge on what works, what won't. We'll entertain you and we'll show us innovative.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another issue of the Dose Ingredient Podcast. I'm Todd Runstead.
I'm Devin Golom, and I'm from Step Change Innovations. Where are you from, Todd?
I'm from Next USA. This is What's Next. And together, Devin and Todd, we are the
Nutraceuticals.
Nutraceuticals. I love that.
I do too.
And Devin, I love you too. And you know what I really love about you as a writer and content creator in the business, whether it's on stage or in print, is you have this great ability to blend like this foundational science, which we all need, but you layer on top of that the personal. And that's what I think really brings compelling content. And so today, kids, we're going to talk about GLP-1s as it relates to the supplements industry. And Devin, you are actually on a GLP-1, yeah?
Yes, I am. And I'm just going to give a shout out to you and thank you, because the reason that I have gotten more personal in my content and comfortable doing that is because I had a wonderful editor that I used to write for that kind of encouraged that. So you're responsible for this monster, Todd.
Oh.
But thank you. But yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. They're at Supply Side Supplement Journal. Yeah,
Yes,
good stuff.
But yes, to answer your question, yes, I've been on Ozempic, and I just recently switched to Manjaro at the advice of my physician.
And so what's the difference? Like that's an injectable, right?
They are both injectables.
They are.
So Ozempic and Manjaro. So Ozempic is semaglutide. I'm going to
Right.
get all these confused
Yeah,
now. So semaglutide's the generic. Ozempic is the version that is prescribed for type 2 diabetics, which I am.
Yeah.
Very well managed. I barely hit the criteria to get diagnosed, and I am very well managed now. Wegovy is the same thing and also is semaglutide, but that's supposed to be prescribed for people who are just trying to lose weight. But of course, doctors prescribe for off-label uses all the time.
Right.
And then Manjaro is tirzepatide, and that one is also prescribed for type 2 diabetics, and Zepbound is the weight loss version of tirzepatide. They are both, if you want me to go into my spiel, they're both
Spiel away.
What's that?
Spiel away.
Spiel away. Okay. So they're both GLP-1 receptor agonists.
Right.
And we're obviously talking about GLP-1s today.
Yeah.
GLP-1 is this ginormous trend. But when people talk about GLP-1s, they usually are thinking of Ozempic and Manjaro and the things that cause massive weight loss.
Right.
And GLP-1 is actually a hormone in our body called
Right.
glucagon-like peptide 1.
Right.
It tells our body when we've eaten to up the insulin, down the glucagon, and
Right.
insulin is what takes blood sugar or lowers our blood sugar, and glucagon increases it.
Right.
So by those receptor agonists, they're basically, playing at our receptors, and they have a longer half-life than the natural GLP-1 we make in our body. So we feel fuller longer. It better manages our blood sugar, especially if you're a type 2 diabetic like me, and helps with weight loss.
Yeah, because it delays the gastric emptying, right?
That is, one of the three mechanisms. It's the satiety, the blood sugar regulation, and the slower gastric emptying, correct. That's for semaglutide. And then tirzepatide also mimics peptide YY, which plays a role in there somewhere as well. I still need to learn about that one a little bit more because it's a new drug.
I think this is all interesting because, the dietary supplements industry, to me, the main reason they're called dietary supplements is because it was always diet pills, and that was led by ephedra. So you would have the combination of ephedra and aspirin and caffeine, and so maybe it was white willow bark in there. And so that combination, that was like the diet pills that people would take. And then of course the FDA outlawed it in, I think it was 2004, because man, it was a craze. It was $1 billion ingredient, and all of a sudden you had there was some professional athletes. There was Corey Stringer. He was a guy on the Minnesota Vikings. New guy on the Minnesota Vikings. I wonder if Liza, is that her name? Liza? I wonder if
Lizzo.
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 I wonder if
Yes.
she's on Ozempic. Um,
I
anyway,
don't know.
yeah, she was on that new guy in the Minnesota Vikings, and so they had the two-a-days in the humid August Minnesota summers, and he was on ephedra, and he died. And
Uh,
so and there was a baseball pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, and he died. And but there was you will talk to researchers, and they will say if you didn't have any pre-existing conditions, which was really a heart thing, and if you took it as advertised, 90 milligrams a day, you would be fine. The problem, of course, is the beach season is upon us. I'm getting married in 6 weeks. I'm going to take
yeah.
all these pills,
Yeah.
and then, oh, maybe you're a little bit overweight. Maybe you didn't even know that you had a heart problem, and there it is. So, I think it got unnecessarily maligned there, but here we are. And, nothing has really taken ephedra's place. And now all of a sudden, drugs have come in.
Oh,
You know,
for sure.
but what I think is interesting is before drug, and this plays in with what we're going to talk about here, is before drugs came in, there was this protein craze, and part of protein is the satiety.
Mhm.
It's like you feel fuller longer. With
Yep.
protein. So part of protein, obviously muscle building, and preservation and,
Absolutely.
and healing and stuff like that. But also it's satiety. There's a satiety play there. And like any weight meal replacement powder, it's going to have protein, it's going to have fiber in it
Absolutely.
as a foundation, and then
Yep.
whatever other kitchen sink ingredients you're going
Yep.
to throw in
And
there.
we know fiber helps a lot with satiety too. That's
Right, right,
a
right.
lot more research has come out around that, and not just protein.
And I mean, fiber stimulates GLP-1 production.
Yes,
If
certain ones do.
Yeah, perhaps even more than any. So I think that's all interesting. So now all of a sudden drugs have come in, and now we're seeing, there was this movement in between ephedra going out 20 years ago and now where, it was body shaming if you were to bring up, overweight and, body acceptance and, plus sizes and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden it's like, we actually have a pill that'll
Yeah.
do that. And it's like, oh, okay, sure, all that stuff that we were trying to, say, that's out the window. Give me the shot. Give me the pill. I know they're working on oral semaglutides, and I don't know if that's hit the market yet.
I think
Uh,
some of them have, but there's some question on whether they're as efficacious as the injections. It seems the weight loss is less with swallowing them than it is with
so
shooting up.
what's the injection like? Do you just do that like in your abdomen, like below the
Yep,
belly button?
it's very similar to if you were to give yourself an insulin injection. So
Which I don't
so
even know
yeah.
about that.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, just somewhere. So you just kind of grab a fat roll, stick it in, push it, and you're done. But the needle is like that big. It's like not even. It's like half an inch. So, and I have this nice added benefit. So, back to women's health for just 1 second. So,
yeah.
I had a C-section, and sometimes you lose feeling in the bottom of your gut after you've
Oh,
had a C-section, and
oh,
supposedly it's supposed to come back after several years, but part of mine is still numb, which is strange. So, I just stick it in there and I don't even feel it.
huh. All right.
Yeah.
That whole needle thing, I don't like. And I'm sure that's kept me off of heroin to some degree, and not really. But like I gave blood when I was in high school, and I passed out, and
Yeah.
uh, and I was like, okay, I'm never doing that again. And then there was some other time I was at a doctor's office, and oh yeah, they wanted to give me antibiotic, and they said, so we could put you on 10 days. You got to take it like twice a day, or we could just give you an injection right here in the ass, and you could do that. And I said,
You just bend over.
I'll take the shot. But you know what happened? I was like up against the wall, MF, and they just pull your pants down, and they gave me a shot, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like wah 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 wah, and the next thing I know, I open my eyes and I'm laying down, and there's two doctors ahead of me, like over me, and I'm like, there was only one of you, and why am I lying down? And they were like, you just passed out, and I was like, did I? And it was just the needle. So I don't do
Yeah.
needles.
I
Um,
I totally get that because I'm not a fan of needles either. Like, I need to look away whenever I'm getting blood drawn, and I need to sit there for a minute because I feel like if I stand up right away after they take it out, I'm going to pass out.
Yeah.
But you kind of get over it with this. It's once a week, it's for your health. I've lost 50 pounds so far.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah,
Huge.
it's been good. I still have a long way to go, but I am in much better shape than I was before I started.
How long have
So,
you been doing it for?
a year and a half.
Wow.
So I hit a bit of a plateau, which could be because of perimenopause, as we've gone into great detail about on prior episodes.
Right.
But during perimenopause, a lot of women gain. So the fact that I just like stopped losing and maintained is something I'm still very happy with. But I want to continue, and my doctor's cool with that. So we're switching to Manjaro and starting back up on the weight loss again.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So are you, so one of as it relates to the supplements world, I'll go into drugstores and on the supplements aisle, one whole row, one side of the supplements aisle is all protein. Protein powders, protein bars, protein chips, protein everything.
Yep.
And then the other side is just random supplements. And so really there's like two plays that are going on here in the supplements world. And so one is companies that are slapping GLP-1 on the label,
Yes.
and they used to be their weight management, sort of supplement, and now it's like, oh, we're just gonna ride the bandwagon.
Yep.
And then the other side is like on that protein side is helping people on their journey because if do you just eat like one meal a day, or do you just snack a couple small little meals, or how do
I'm
you?
about 2 meals a day at the moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe a snack in there. It all kind of depends. I definitely eat way less than I did before. And I also find at least one of my particular fun side effects is if I eat too late at night and just go to sleep right after I eat, I upchuck it the next
Ew.
day. Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
gross.
not the
So like by default, I'm very close to an intermittent fasting schedule just because I'm not hungry when I first get up, and
Another hot
then
trend. Yeah, interesting.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, some people do different things. I've seen people that just have one meal a day. I see people that have a few snacks. I try to have at least 2 meals and then maybe one snack and
Yeah.
make
So
sure I'm
did
getting
did
protein.
your physician say anything about the quality of food that you should be consuming now?
She did not, but she also knows that I'm a food scientist, and even though I'm
Yeah,
not a
you know
dietitian,
things.
she knows I know enough that I know what I should be eating.
Right.
And thanks to LinkedIn and just being in this industry, I have. I mean, one of my mentees from one of the nutraceuticals is an RD, so I have some people on speed dial I can call
Right.
if I need any help. I hope that doctors are talking about working with dietitians, especially
Right.
as we're seeing in the news that they're saying that doctors should get more training in nutrition. Doctors should get more training in a lot of things like bedside manner and women's health. And
Right.
maybe they could learn a little bit about nutrition, but I think people don't realize that nutritionists and dietitians, they can be part of our healthcare team. They have more experience recommending foods and practical tips on how to eat better, and especially as it relates to different populations and people that have different diseases or different issues. So I think that if you're ever considering a GLP-1, have a nutritionist or a dietitian that you can talk with because they'll have a lot of great suggestions for you.
Yeah, food is like sex. When you
Uh-oh.
abstain, that's right. Here comes a dad joke, kids. Food is like sex. Even when you abstain, even the worst stuff begins to look good. And so I'm
Todd, that's horrible.
thank you.
Yes, you're
I'm here
welcome.
for it. Eh,
Oh,
I'm
Todd.
I'm coming with it. I'm coming for it. Um, yeah, no, but I'm curious about that because we say in the natural products industry, hey, this is a great example, a great opportunity for nutrient dense whole foods, for all these Ozempic people. But then I wonder, it's like, is that connection being made? Like, are doctors telling patients like, you should take a lot more protein. Like stay away from the chips because I could equally see people just like, oh my God, if I'm only hungry once a day, I'm gonna eat those chocolate chip cookies.
And I will freely admit that when I first started on this journey, I was still eating like shit in the beginning and just having pizza and chocolate whenever I wanted. Just not in nearly the quantities. But I am one of those people that suffers from food noise, if you've heard that term. So if I am not on one of these GLP-1 receptor agonists, I'll be thinking about my next fix, like drug users think about, drug addicts think about their next fix. I'll be thinking about sugar. And I actually don't crave sweets nearly as much anymore. And having that food noise go
That's
down has
interesting.
given me the space to really focus on making better choices with my food. So I actually have bananas and oranges sitting on my desk right now for when I do want something sweet. I use the bananas in a lot of smoothies because that's how I get my protein and my fiber as well.
Yeah.
But having that food noise gone has been a godsend for me personally, and I know a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah, I hear that these GLP-1 receptor agonist drugs, to your point about food noise, is they're also having an effect on people's other sort of noises that might form habits or hobbies or addictions. I mean, we're talking like alcohol
Yep.
or
And smoking.
yeah,
Yep.
smoking, which is like super fascinating, that it's like it's the great moderator drug, like everything in moderation, including moderation, I would say. But
It's
but still,
fascinating.
yeah, I mean, it could really have a lot of effects on improving health overall. I get in conversations with people, sometimes they say, oh, GLP-1s, this is just a fad. And I say, I don't think so, you know. And when you hear about some of these effects on things, again, it was just developed for blood sugar, for diabetes. Now, there's obviously a connection, diabesity, between diabetes and obesity, you
100%.
know, and so, but now all of a sudden, if you could, all of a sudden alcoholism, holy crap, or smoking, like wow,
Yeah,
huge.
it's a game changer. I don't
Yeah.
think we've had anything in the supplement or the pharmaceutical industry quite like this in some time. And I would argue I mean they've been around for a while, but I would argue we still have some ways to go before we see if they really have long-term effects. And in my situation with my doctor, obviously I'm willing to risk that because it's making me much healthier, and that's going to help me along my journey, even if I do encounter some weird problem later on.
Right.
I'm healthier now. I have more energy. I can be there for my son and my family, and that's
Oh,
really important to me.
that's really cool. And so I noticed that you said that you take an injection once a week, right?
Correct.
And so that's because these semaglutides, the Ozempics, they have a half-life of about 7 or 8 days when
Yes.
administered by injection. And so there you have it.
Yeah.
And so, but a lot of these naturally occurring GLP-1, supplement type of things, even fibers or food, it's like, yeah, it boosts GLP-1, but for a couple minutes,
Yeah,
a couple
it's
hours,
it's nothing to the same extent that the drugs are, and a lot of it is because of half-life, because the half-life of naturally occurring GLP-1 is just a few minutes, maybe up to an hour from what I understand, but like to your point, the half-life of semaglutide is a week, and that's a long ass time. I also wonder if there's issues in people like myself where even if you were to take something like an acromantia or certain fibers that boost naturally producing GLP-1, if I would even have any benefit from it, because maybe my receptors are so messed up that I need that receptor agonist to actually make it work. But there's really no way for me to know right now. But I also wonder, with how many people that we have walking around right now that are probably pre-diabetic, could they benefit from something that does boost naturally occurring GLP-1 before they're completely so far gone they need a drug like me? So
right?
it's
Yeah,
something to think about. Of course,
right.
I think there would be issues with, because I think pre-diabetes is still a would still be a disease state, I think. So there's probably a lot of issues with claiming that on the label, but I don't know. It's just an interesting pipe dream to think about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just want to touch on the two aspects that are the business strategies for supplement companies. And
Hmm.
so one, you have them get hopping on the GLP-1 bandwagon.
Yep.
There was this, the it's sort of an infamous class action lawsuit against the Kardashian Lemmy brand. Really good story written about it in Supply Side Supplement Journal, so you can check it out there.
To go
And
read
and
that.
so it's a sophisticated formulation, and it's got three branded ingredients, one of which has human clinicals behind it that um, or is it raise or lower? Yeah, it would raise GLP-1 levels by 17%, 22%, something like that. And then other ingredients have been shown to improve BMI, body mass index, reduce fat. Another one to reduce snacking frequency. So put together, and you have like a pretty good, weight loss, weight management supplement. Um, but you slap GLP-1 on the label and you're off to the races. And I think there are plenty of supplements out there that aren't nearly as quality conscious as this Kardashian one, but of course they get the hit because they're a Kardashian brand. That's what you get when you're on top is
They're more visible. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah. They're
So so
attracting the attention.
so that's one thing, and so I'm sure that there are products out there that maybe they're not so good, or maybe they just help a little, but just by putting a GLP-1 on the label, you know, consumers might think that they're getting a side effect free Ozempic. And
Yes.
great, so I'm going to lose 50 pounds over a year and a half with no gut problems, no GI
Yeah,
problems, and
we
it's like,
discussed that on a webinar I was on yesterday with Supply Side and Informa. And
uh-huh,
one of the questions we were asked was, do we think consumers really understand what GLP-1 is? And I don't think they understand it's a hormone.
right,
It took a while for me to learn, and I have a PhD. That doesn't really mean I know everything, but
right,
knows
right, right.
means I know how to do my research. But I think a lot of people see GLP-1 and they just instantly think of Ozempic and the epic weight loss that comes with it.
Right.
And there's nothing we have in the supplement industry that acts like GLP-1 receptor agonists do right now. And I even said it on the webinar yesterday with like the TikTok trend with berberine being nature's Ozempic and all that. It's bullshit. Like
Yeah.
there is not a nature's Ozempic out there. There are things that we can do to help with satiety, help improve GLP-1, but there is not an Ozempic in nature.
Right, right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe the shorthand is it does work on this GLP-1 receptor pathway, but definitely not to the same effect, you know.
Correct.
And so it's
Correct.
like, okay, it's nature's Ozempic, so it's not going to work as epically as a
Yeah,
drug, but you won't get the side effect either, and that's
true.
kind of,
And I think we have some work to do as an industry to help educate consumers on the fact that these GLP-1 supplements are not exactly like the drug. They can help you, maybe they can prevent you from having to get on it later on, but they're
right.
not it.
Not for nothing. So then the other aspect of this GLP-1 opportunity as it relates to supplements is is helping people on their journey. And so that is the stuff like those protein,
Yes.
shelves, because, hey, because when you're losing weight, you don't just lose your fat,
Yes.
you're losing your muscle too, and you don't
Yes.
want to lose that lean body mass, right? So
Well, you don't want to lose it like a lot of it. You're going to lose about some of it. Like about 25% of my weight loss has been muscle, but
uh,
if I kept on all of the muscle that I have, like it wouldn't work out. So it's natural to lose a little bit of muscle, but you don't want to lose like 50% muscle.
right, right, right.
You want
Yeah,
some of
and
it to
so
be fat.
that's where protein comes in. That's
Yep.
where other, just great sort of muscle ingredients, HMB or
Hmm.
I think maybe beta alanine would be another that you could use, just to support people's, like your, musculoskeletal system,
Hmm.
and so that's one aspect. And then the other is you hear a lot about, I think maybe half of the people on Ozempic, they have various types of gastrointestinal upset. And
Absolutely.
And so I think what a lot of companies are doing are, well, we had this digestive health ingredient, and again, that's a trend. Gut health is a trend.
Absolutely.
But now you could sort of twist that marketing and say, hey, this for you GLP-1 people, you can have that. And you're off to the races. And to me, that seems a little more of a safe, sort of legitimate area. I, I think safer is probably better than legitimate. I don't know. Uh, that's an avenue to go on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Diarrhea and constipation are two, and nausea are probably the three most common side effects that you have. And constipation seems almost natural because you're slowing the gastric emptying.
Right.
Although I will say I haven't had a lot of constipation. I have had to deal with diarrhea as I've ramped up on doses, but then it dies out. So I've been fine. So I often tell people that they should take probiotics. If some people will ask me, what supplements do you take? And I do take a probiotic because it can help balance, because the drugs can impact people one way or another, and probiotics can help bring balance to that.
Right. Yeah. And when people think gut health, they definitely go toward prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics, all those biotics.
There are
I
other things though. And I hear you have something to tell me about from your day
I
job.
do.
I want to hear
This is
about
just
this.
a little shameless self-promotion. So Next USA has this digoxin ingredient that we have human clinical studies showing stress-induced constipation. So we've done studies where people have 3 bowel movements a week, which is the definition of clinical constipation.
Mhm.
And after only a week, they get to healthy daily regularity. So you're pinching off once a day. You're daily constitutional. And so all things are great. So we actually just conducted a human clinical on digoxin on GLP-1 patients, which very rarely done. Like that hasn't been done yet. Like usually you
Yeah.
have these companies that are like, oh yeah, we have a digestive health ingredient, and now we're just going to position it as GLP-1. Well, we've actually done a study on GLP-1 users so that
That's so cool.
we can help brands, that to more legitimately say, hey, that and granted, this is only it was only an open label 12 subject, so just an introductory one, but we just wanted to see what it would be like, and very much, total GI symptoms down, constipation eliminated after 21 days.
So
I
were
think it was a 30-day trial, and it just goes down all the way,
so
complete.
were these people like primarily constipated then before they started?
Uh, it
Or
was it
not
was
sure.
constipation, GERD reflux,
Okay.
vomiting, dysphagia. Um, those were the side effects that we were looking at. So we didn't look at the runs. We looked at the goes.
Gotcha.
And then also interestingly enough, because digestion works on the gut-brain axis and it lowers cortisol and elevates serotonin. Um, we also looked at things like perceived stress and even insomnia, and both of those went down too. So the takeaways is this study, it builds off of our two gold standard human clinicals, and
That's awesome.
and so it's a great standalone product to mitigate the side effects, improve your well-being. And it's part of, I think, the larger picture of, okay, okay, so that'll take care of your GI. And now let's take care of your muscles with this protein and HMB and maybe creatine, and you want to be active too, right?
Yep. I
You
have
want to be
started taking creatine, and that's definitely helped with my energy levels. I
Is that right?
also am a big fan of Peptastrong, which is an ingredient from Neuritas.
Uh-huh.
They use AI to find bioactive peptides in plant proteins, so really
Yeah.
really cool from a technical perspective. But their Peptastrong helps with muscle strength and muscle recovery, and they actually did studies where they immobilized people's legs for a little while, or like one leg, I think, and it was in young men, and they were fine. But then showed that they were able to recover very easily with this. That's better than fava bean protein as a whole. It just has to be the peptide. Our
Yeah.
body doesn't get that peptide naturally if we eat the protein, and it's also better than whey protein, which we kind of think of as the standard protein for muscle building and
Right.
things like that with branched chain amino acids. But there's a lot of benefits for someone like me who is both on GLP-1s and trying to preserve the muscle mass as I lose weight, but also as an aging woman, because we lose our muscle mass mass as we age. So
Right, right.
Pepto-Strongs, I take a protein powder from the vitamin shop that I really like a lot that has Pepto-Strong in it, and
Ah,
that's
ah.
been very helpful for me. It's a GLP-1 support formula.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and a year ago it was probably on the market, same ingredients, but just a different name, perhaps.
Potentially. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean that's really the opportunity, and supplements industry, it's all about seizing opportunities, definitely all about innovation, and so that makes it a really lively, class of consumer goods, of safe consumer goods at that. So so yeah, the GLP-1 story will continue for sure.
Absolutely. We just need
And
to make sure we're helping to continue it responsibly and
right.
being ethical with the claims that we make and being good with the science. And hopefully, more studies will come out on people like me because right now, 1 in 8 people in the population they estimate are either on a GLP-1 or have taken one. So there's a lot of people to experiment on. you know,
Right,
so
right, right. Yeah.
I will.
Finding subjects for your study, not a problem.
Yeah, I'll volunteer as tribute.
Right.
No, there's a lot that supplements can do to help in this space, and it's just about trying to do it in a way that is ethical and where the consumer understands what's going on.
Yeah, right. So part of that's the onus, like education, and
Yes,
so marketing.
yes,
And so we want to
yes,
market it in a way that is that has integrity, and so tell consumers what they can expect and what it's really for. And so I think some of these products that just slap GLP-1s on it, you might be trying to just pull a fast one, and
yes,
we can do better. We can do better.
yes,
But certainly there's legit opportunities all over the place for a lot of these side
yes,
effects that happen, and we could just help people, just be better, and
absolutely.
and it goes beyond supplements to just healthier foods, like, if you know eat the salmon, not the burger, and
Yes.
maybe take the protein, take this comprehensive muscle building formula, and get out there and go for a walk or a run or a hike or a swim, or like, you got to move, you got to move.
Yes. I
and,
mean,
and
GLP-1s kind of are that magic pill, so to speak, where you can not change a lot of things and lose weight, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you are not working on your diet and exercising along with it. And I made that commitment to myself that I was going to work on both of those things when I started taking
right,
it, and I work with a personal trainer twice a week, and my diet's a work in progress. It was like, okay, let's slow down on the Starbucks. Okay, let's try to get more fruits and vegetables. I still have pizza once in a while. I still
right.
enjoy things, but it's the whole 80/20 rule and all that too. But if you take the GLP-1s and just to lose weight and you don't change everything else in your life, you never really have a chance of getting off of them. And granted, I may end up being on it for the rest of my life because I technically am diabetic, but and I'm okay with that if it helps me stay healthy. But there's a lot of people who could use them and wind off of them. And I think that's a big opportunity for the supplement industry and just the functional food industry as well to really support people as they're doing that.
Yeah, and it's a nice kind of positive reinforcement. It's like, and so you have to go to the doctor to get it, right? And so the
Yes,
doctor's like,
you need a
okay,
prescription.
yeah,
Although you can kind of get like a prescription online too, and just, sign up for some services, and there's someone there that will sign
interesting.
off on things. But
Right,
yes,
okay.
ideally it would be good if you went and saw a doctor and,
Yeah, and then
had your blood drawn every so often to make sure that your liver enzymes are okay, your kidneys are functioning, all that good stuff.
right, right, right. Yeah, and just look at your fasting blood glucose levels, and see if
Yes.
you're
And your
keeping.
cholesterol and
Right. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep all that in check.
Yes.
But so that's good because people tend to trust their doctors, and we're a little skeptical about allopathic Western doctors here in the natural supplements industry, because doctors, they know everything about pharmaceuticals and nothing about the stuff that you put inside your mouth 3 times a day, as if that could possibly have anything to do with your health. But so you could get this from the doctor. It's like, yeah, you should eat better. You should exercise while you're doing this. And so then, you take the drug. This is my imagination, is you take the drug and it's like, wow, I'm actually losing weight. I got to exercise too, or else I'm just going to be, weaker. And,
Yep.
like you said, you could pick up your energy levels and feel better. And, so you got to have everything. It's a good way to kind of really change your life, like, game changer, life changer,
It really has been
these
for me.
GLP-1s. But if you take a comprehensive look at really helping this to change your life to get healthier, um, then I think
Yeah.
that's great.
And I think, I don't, there are some people in the natural products industry that hate big pharma and, try to avoid drugs at all costs.
Right.
And I'm married to a doctor and I'm a scientist, so I have a lot of respect for
Yeah.
medicine. But I think it's totally possible to utilize both. I mean, there are so many great supplements out there that help with a lot of things. And I'm sure we'll hit this on a future episode talking about mental health. I have depression and anxiety, and I'm on pharmaceuticals for them, and I'm okay with that. And I've tried other things. I've tried supplements, I've tried exercise, I've tried getting out in nature, I've tried a lot of things. And I just need pharmaceuticals, and that's okay. But I take supplements for a lot of other things. I take my
Yeah.
creatine, I take my DHA, I take my vitamin D, so I don't have to worry. So I don't have to worry about going out in the sun and burning my beautiful skin. There's we can use both, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all, as I think I've said before.
Right. 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 Cool. Well, I think that's a story on GLP-1s today. Devin, great conversation. And yeah,
Always.
I hope everyone appreciates it out there in podcast land. Catch you around the schoolyard, kids, right?
All right. Have a good one, Todd. Always good talking to you. And I'm sure we'll have a delightful conversation with probably more inappropriate dad jokes on the next
That's right.
episode.
That's right. Only one this time.
That's an improvement. Tracy will be very happy. She'll be
Okay.
very proud of you.
All right. See you next time, kids.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
We are the Nutraceuticals.